Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Derp Your Hooves. So today we are in the Black Square Beechcraft Bonanza Professional in a custom livery, not mine, someone else's. Here, let's zoom out and show you the livery. Um, and actually, I kind of wanted to go over just a couple things here, and I hate bouncing around with these videos. I really do. But so I get frustrated with the sim, like so many other people do. And, I'm reading these complaints, and so I have very mixed feelings about this sim. And I'm going to start off by saying, just before I get into it, that I understand that it's a simulator. And I understand that certain things like this is a third-party airplane for the sim. So let's start there, because this is not real life. This is a simulator. And if you're looking right now, the only add-on that I have for this is just this livery for the plane. So that's Los Angeles. That's Century City down there. The Asobo scenery using the Bing map with the whatever it's called, the photogrammetry. And again, we're in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, not 2020. And I have mixed feelings about this sim. And I'm saying this because I'm reading posts, and recently I read a post on social media about I think it was more military aircraft, and we don't have a lot of good military aircraft, and just general complaints and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to go over in simulator land here that there are currently a bunch of choices for flight sims. You have Microsoft Flight Simulator, you have X-Plane, you have DCS. So I'm having issues right now with 2020. I don't know what's going on, so I'm kind of trying to transition to 2024. And again, I'm having some headaches. So some of the headaches that I'm having with certain aircraft is frame rates. Oh, look, and I've used the free PMDG and GTN 750, not PMDG, but GTN 750, and I get that little error. So the sim is far from perfect. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is far from perfect, but it's getting better. Now, I know I've slammed it. I've said a lot of bad things about it. But I know there's no heading. There's no nothing. So let's stick to what we're talking about. I just don't want to see the blinking message anymore. So let's kind of stick to the point. Let's put this on autopilot for a minute so I can talk and focus. So there's basically, like three major sims that a lot of people know about. And they are what I had previously mentioned. You have Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024, so that's kind of one sim, but it's going to say four. Those two, and then you have X-Plane, and there's a bunch of different versions of X-Plane, and then you have DCS World. So let's kind of go over it here. So those are kind of your choices right now. Now, when it comes to military aircraft, you can go fly DCS, and if you're going to talk about realism, well, so, like I said, Pony is a sim pilot. See how the Bonanza kind of rocks a little bit in 2024 with the turbulence? Didn't do that in 2020. Anyways, so when it comes to realism, for combat flight sims, I guess DCS is as close as you're going to get. And I will tell you, the flight models in DCS are far from accurate. Some of them are kind of accurate, some of them aren't. I know that the U.S. Air Force has put out, some kind of statement saying that they help train some of their A-10 pilots using DCS. I'm sure they do, along with their very professional simulators that they have that's not DCS. So I'm just going to say that about DCS. You want to go blow things up, you want to go pretend to be a fighter pilot, then go fly DCS. And you have a great selection of military aircraft that are available to you. And no, the flight models are not realistic. This has been verified by fighter pilots. Some of them are close, some of them aren't, and DCS has its own problems. So, enough about DCS. So, for X-Plane, well, it's not as highly detailed as Microsoft Flight Simulator, but everyone says it has a more realistic flight model. So, if you're looking for a realistic flight model, that's where you want to go. You want to go to X-Plane, X-Plane 12, whatever, and go have fun and enjoy it. Now, if you want kind of a balance of commercial aviation and private aviation and somewhat realism, then now we have Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So again, I'm demonstrating because I'm in a third-party aircraft. I'm in the Black Square Beechcraft Bonanza Professional. That's a whole mouthful right there. And I mean, this is fairly realistic. I've never actually flown a plane, but I've been in planes. And this is what we're talking about today, is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Now that I've reviewed the 4 major options, let's talk about where we are. So, it may not be super realistic, and I will say if you're flying helicopters, the closer you get to the ground, depending on how much time they spent with custom scenery, then some of the trees look like rocks, some of them don't. Hopefully, over time, they fix that too. So, one of the biggest things, and people complain about stuttering and frame rate, so I'll get into that. So, I know a little bit about computers, and one of the things that reduces your frame rate is large graphic files. So it's a simulator, and your processor and your GPU together with the RAM, just so you know, and maybe that's too much for you, I don't know. They all have to work together, and they have to do math, and depending on how you have the settings, and it's so damn complicated now, you might get stutters. And one of the reasons you might get stutters is large graphic files. The larger the graphic file, the larger the resolution, the more likely you are to get stutters. Now, this also goes for your network connection. And there's only so much you can do on your end, because you have to think about network connections, as you can have a great connection in your house, in your workplace, wherever it is, out to the internet. And depending on how many computers are on your segment of your network at the same time, online streaming, doing stuff, YouTube videos, whatever, with you playing your flight sim, might also affect your flight sim experience, because it's like getting onto the freeway and there's only one on-ramp, and if there's 2 lanes or 5 lanes on the on-ramp and you're driving a gigantic truck and everyone else is driving a gigantic truck on the freeway, well, you might have some network issues. So networking issues are very complicated, and it would take me hours to explain it all, but I will tell you that's something else that affects it, and that's part of the IoT, which was a big thing, big buzzword a long time ago, the Internet of Things, and it's here to stay, because that's the current platform that we're all using. Everyone has their smartphones and their laptops and their desktops, and everything's online play. So if you're doing online play and you're using all the bells and whistles, and you've spent 5 to who knows how many thousands of dollars on a great gaming rig, even with the best gaming rig and the best internet connection, you might get stutters. So, sorry everybody, but that's how it goes. And, you know, I don't mean to be a bummer. And the more add-ons you put in the sim, the more likely you are to get stutters. Because again, the sim has to process all this information for you to give you the ultimate experience, and it also depends on the programmers at Sobo on how they can trim the fat in certain areas. So if you want an absolutely amazing sim experience, go out and buy the most expensive processor on the face of the planet and max your machine out with RAMs and get the best motherboard and get the best video card with, the most VRAM on there, and tune it and tweak it and spend months setting it up, or days or hours, all of your free time, so that you can have a smooth flight sim experience. And some people might say, well, gee, Pony, that sounds kind of harsh. Well, I mean, there's a lot of complaints, and I complain too. I admit I complain too. I mean, I do. And I'm just trying to say, I don't work for Microsoft. I don't work for Asobo. I don't work in the computer industry at all anymore, for the most part. And, it's like, this is really good. I mean, right now in this airplane, it's really good. And not all third-party aircraft are great. I mean, I went out and I got the GKS B-52. And I can fly it in 2020, and I can fly it in 2024. In 2020, it lags, and it's probably because the graphics files are too high, and there's too much garbage in there, so they need to fix it. There's other aircraft that work here, that work there. There's some that work, some that don't. And sometimes you're just like, gee, that's not working for me. But you have the option of adding these third-party liveries like this one. And, if I want to spend some of my free time... Oh, I have the nameplates turned on. If I want to spend some of my free time changing the registration, which I probably will, modifying this livery and making it my own, then that's something I'll do. And the larger I make the file and the more stuff I put in there, I guarantee you it's going to lag the sim. And the more people that are playing on the server that I'm on, in live player mode with live weather and live time, are going to lag the sim. So that's just the way it goes. And this is also going to sound kind of harsh, because people are going to be like, well, that's not why I came here to watch this video. Well, it's like, dude, yeah, I understand, trust me, that not all of us can go get a private pilot's license. It's not for everybody. I've covered that in some of my other videos. Some people can't. So you say, well, this simulator is the best I got. Well, then this is the best you've got. Other than that, flying an actual airplane is the closest you're going to get to reality. And then in that one, in reality, if you make a mistake or something breaks in the plane, something major, you might not, survive another day, unlike the sim where it just crashes, and in 2024 it just restarts you and spawns you somewhere else. So I'm just saying, this is coming from someone who heavily critiques some of the stuff in the sim. And I do it because I'll tell you something, and this is something that I will say, and I'm noticing that in this version of the sim, as they work on it, it's getting better and better. And I've mentioned this in other videos. Pre-Internet of Things, and about like 20 years ago and back, when graphics were not as good, games, programs, but especially games, had to be great out of the box, because it was a box. You went to a store and you picked up a game, and you spent at the time a considerable amount of money for a good game, and that was it. I mean, sometimes there were online updates, but usually they'd send you another disk because of the speed of the internet, and that's what you had. And so it was on the programmers to get it and get it right, and if they didn't get it right, then people were like, I'm not playing this game, it sucks. And so that's the other thing that I'm going to go into, and I've addressed this also in some of my videos, is that the level of quality, for whatever reason, has changed. And part of the reason that it has changed is that because they just release online updates. So I'm going to say this, and again, I really just don't care if my opinions are popular or they upset you. But I'm going from my standpoint of, in today's world, we accept these lower standards, and we do. We're like so eager, and the companies and the corporations know. They're like, dude, we'll put this out, and we'll like do the best we can, and then we'll fix it along the way, But right now we're putting this out, and some of us are like, and I can speak from personal experience. I'm like, oh, I want to play this, and so I'll spend $150, or I'll spend $100 or more. Oh, look at that! I'm going to stall out because I'm talking and not flying. And I'll spend all of this money on the simulator, and then I'm like, wow, it's not so good. And that was my experience with 2024, to be honest with you. It was, wow, it's not so good. And it was the same thing with 2020. Well, 2020 was a little better when I got it than 2024 was. But I was like, wow, it's not as good as I thought it would be. And eventually they fixed it, and it got better. And it's been a learning curve. So, I mean, that's pretty much it for my rant. And I'm not going to go through takeoffs and landings and do all this fun stuff. I'm just going to fly around the California San Gabriel mountain range in this Beechcraft Bonanza and rant about this because, I mean, it is what it is. And I think I've pretty much stated that. So some add-ons are going to be good. The product itself isn't bad, but you have all these choices, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. And if you do like it, you like it. And, I mean, the one thing that I have noticed, and you get a lot of people, because it seems to be the DCS, and I'm going back to DCS, is the only thing on the planet for a combat flight sim that's halfway decent right now. And, I mean, it is, but I've sat there fiddling with stuff. And, I mean, I'll tell you, you want to see how accurate DCS is? Okay. Go in the Tomcat, okay? And go to the external view and roll the stick around violently. And look at the graphic representation of the Tomcat. That's just the best thing off the top of my head. And it rolls and it pitches so unrealistically in that view, but it does. When you're in the cockpit, it seems a little different. And you're saying, well, Pony, you don't know what you're talking about. I do. I was just on DCS a couple days ago. And I was like, wow, that's horrible. And it's, well, I mean, it's not reality. Obviously, it's not reality because there's not a whole lot of F-14s flying around anymore. But I'm just like, I looked at it and I'm like, okay, it's a video game. It's a simulator. Whatever. It's a video game. It's a simulator. It is what it is. But I realized that it's not the actual plane. So, this is the best you're going to get right now. I'm sorry to say. This is the best you're going to get, and you can spend all of your money. You can spend whatever you want to spend your money on. And it's literally, this is it, for the Sims. You get what you get, and they work on what they work on, and I'll be honest with you, just with any old business model with supply and demand, if you don't like something, then stop playing it and unsubscribe. Go through, save your money, stop, funding these companies, and just be like, well, I don't like it anymore. It's such garbage. I would rather put tires on my car, or go out and have a nice dinner, or, Save up for a nicer vacation instead of spending all this money on a video game. Do what you want. But, I mean, sitting on online forums and just trolling and not even, like, helping suggest how to make it better, that literally is just, it's just trolling. It's trolling, I get it's venting, but, when you want to talk about Sims and how far they've come, I'll get into this with this simulator. I played this in the 80s as a kid on an old Macintosh computer that had a black and white screen. And, I mean, you think the frame rate skipping now is bad? The frame rate skipping then was horrible. Go fly around Chicago O'Hare. Go fly around the World Trade Center. In an old version, on an older computer that's 30 years old. With the old software if you can. And just see how bad it actually was. And then you'll be like, oh, this is not that bad. And it's like, no, things have come a long way. And things will get better the more they improve it. So, sorry, it's just, I try and sit here with my free time and enjoy flying and enjoy the sim. And it's the same thing. If I want to go blow things up, then I go to DCS. If I want to play Fighter Pilot, then I go to DCS and I go blow things up. If I want to enjoy commercial aviation with really good graphics, well, I'm here right now. I mean, I'm pretty satisfied with this. Not satisfied with the moon, but that's my complaint. I wish that Asoba would fix it. But for a sim, it's pretty good. If I want to spend a couple hours relaxing, flying, then here I am. If I want to spend hours on a forum trolling, well, that's what gives me enjoyment, then great. There you are. So, I would love right now to be able to add to your flight sim experience and say I know all the settings, but I don't. They keep changing with every update, and they change, like I said, depending on what kind of livery I have, on how data heavy it is. And so one setting for one aircraft, for the same aircraft with a different livery, may cause a little bit of skipping. One of my neighbors or some of the people in my neighborhood might all be online, say, watching the Super Bowl or something, and that also takes up network traffic, believe it or not. And so then, I want a flight sim, maybe instead of watching the Super Bowl, just me. And, well, since all this information is flying across the internet in my neighborhood, I may not get the frame rates that I want. So there you go. That's my rant about this. And I know that I haven't made a video. I think it's been like in a month. And again, I'm not making a living off of being a YouTuber. This is just something I do for fun. And when I have time, I love to make videos. So, with that said, I want to say to everyone who's a subscriber, hey subscribers, you guys make this channel happen. Because literally, if no one subscribed, I'd probably stop making videos. So, feel free, if you like my channel and you like my content, to like, subscribe, and share to Derp Your Hooves. And, when you mention who you are and you don't have a hidden account, I could always shout out when I see that someone subscribed, which I'm trying to do. But you guys, seriously, and I don't say this lightly, I love you guys. I love the fact that you actually come watch my channel, because I never thought that anybody would ever want to watch my flight sim channel. So, as always, to everyone and every pony, thank you for watching Derp Your Hooves, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the skies.